Liverpool was shrouded in grief as players, family, and fans came together to bid a heartfelt farewell to Diogo Jota, whose sudden passing left the football world in shock. In a deeply emotional ceremony, Liverpool players carried a striking red wreath, symbolizing love, unity, and eternal remembrance, as they stood alongside Jota's grieving family. The funeral became a moment of profound solidarity, not just for the club but for the entire city of Liverpool and Jota's home country of Portugal. Fans lined the streets, singing softly, holding scarves and flowers, each paying tribute to a player whose humility and talent left a lasting impact. It was a day where football paused to remember one of its most beloved sons. The symbolism of the red wreath. At the heart of Diogo Jota's funeral procession, a single, radiant red wreath drew the attention of all present. It was not just a decorative piece but a profound emblem of Liverpool Football Club's unwavering affection and lasting respect for a player who had become a brother to all. The wreath, meticulously crafted with fresh crimson roses, was carefully designed to carry layers of meaning far beyond its striking appearance. Its deep red hue was synonymous with Liverpool's identity, a color that represents not just the club's rich heritage, but also deep passion, selfless sacrifice, and the unbreakable unity of a family bound by football. Every flower in the arrangement was chosen with thoughtful precision. The vibrant red roses symbolized undying love and heartfelt respect for Jota. Nestled among them, delicate white lilies conveyed purity and peace, offering solace to grieving hearts and serving as a gentle reminder of the innocence of life lost too soon. Interwoven strands of ivy snaked through the wreath, their evergreen leaves a quiet but powerful testament to eternal memory. A sign that Jota's influence would never fade, but instead remain deeply rooted in the hearts of all who knew him. Liverpool players, brothers in grief. The arrival of Liverpool's first-team players painted a picture of profound sorrow and brotherhood. These were men the world was accustomed to seeing full of competitive fire and joyful celebration, now reduced to silent mourners, their usual exuberance subdued by the weight of grief. They walked in solemn procession, shoulder to shoulder, bound not just by the jersey they wore but by the brotherhood forged through years of triumphs, defeats, and shared dreams. Clad in perfectly tailored black suits, their movements were deliberate and synchronized, each step resonating with the enormity of the moment. The silence among them spoke volumes. There was no need for speeches, no need for dramatic displays, their presence alone was the purest form of tribute. Each man was there to honor a friend, a confidant, a brother in arms. As they approached the casket, several players paused. With trembling hands, they gently placed individual flowers from the team's wreath onto the coffin, personalizing the collective offering with their own silent gestures. Heads were bowed in quiet respect, some players whispered soft farewells, private words known only to themselves and the departed. Others simply stood in place, struggling to steady their breath, as the reality of the loss sank in. It was not an abstract tragedy, it was the missing laugh on the team bus, the absent figure in the training drills, the vacant locker that would never again be used. The family's grief, a circle of love and loss. In the front row of the chapel, Diogo Jota's family sat together, enveloped by a circle of love, loss, and quiet resilience. His parents, who had supported his footballing dreams since his earliest days kicking makeshift balls in the streets of Porto, sat hand in hand, their intertwined fingers a fragile anchor in the waves of grief. Their faces were marked by the unmistakable weariness that comes with deep sorrow, but their posture exuded strength. Surrounding them were vivid snapshots of Jota's life, framed photographs chronicling his journey from a boyhood spent chasing dreams in Portugal to a man celebrated in the hallowed grounds of Anfield. The images told stories of youthful exuberance, family vacations by the sea, goals celebrations with Liverpool teammates, and quiet dinners at home. They served as visual reminders of a life rich in love, achievement, and humility. The eulogies offered during the service provided profound glimpses into Jota's true essence. Friends and family shared stories that transcended his fame as a footballer. They spoke of his kindness, his gentle humor, his devotion to his family, and his deep-rooted humility. His wife, her voice quivering but resolute, offered a heartbreaking yet beautiful tribute. She recalled their quiet mornings together, their joyful time spent raising their child, and the countless small moments that made their life a precious journey. Through her words, the congregation came to understand that the world had lost not just a gifted footballer but a loving husband and a devoted father. Fans' final tribute, a city's silent march. Outside the chapel, Liverpool's streets were awash in a sea of red. Fans, young and old, locals and visitors, had come together in a silent, collective march of remembrance. The usual roar of football crowds was replaced by the soft murmur of prayers and the low, emotional strains of "You'll Never Walk Alone," sung quietly by those assembled. The iconic anthem, typically a rallying cry of resilience on match days, became a hymn of farewell, resonating through the city with delicate reverence. Scarves bearing Jota's name and number fluttered gently in the summer breeze. Supporters held handwritten letters, messages filled with gratitude, admiration, and the ache of goodbye. Children, their faces solemn but proud, wore Liverpool jerseys with Jota's name on their backs, honoring the player they had idolized and the man they now mourned. In these quiet, powerful moments, it became evident just how deeply Jota had etched himself into the soul of Liverpool. He had not been a distant star, he had been one of them, a symbol of their dreams, their passion, and their collective spirit. The funeral service, an intimate farewell. The funeral service was an exquisite balance of public tribute and private mourning. Guided by a family friend who served as the officiant, the ceremony delicately traced the arc of Jota's life. From his barefoot beginnings in the streets of Gondomar to his cherished place in Liverpool's history, readings from family members, childhood friends, and former coaches wove a vivid tapestry of his character. His childhood coach spoke with warmth and pride, remembering a young boy with an insatiable hunger for the game, a sharp wit, and an unshakable authenticity. Liverpool teammates offered quiet but poignant reflections, recalling Jota's unwavering loyalty, his grounded nature despite his success, and the infectious joy he brought to the training ground. Music filled the chapel with a tender presence. Portuguese folk songs served as a bridge to his homeland, each note carrying memories of his roots. Between the readings, instrumental versions of Liverpool's cherished anthems filled the air, binding his two worlds together. As the service drew to a close, all in attendance rose to sing, "You'll Never Walk Alone," their voices merging in a heartfelt expression of solidarity and remembrance. The melody, rising and falling with quiet power, became more than a song, it became a promise that Jota would never be forgotten, that his journey would live on in the hearts of those who loved him, those who played beside him, and those who cheered for him from the stands. The medical team, silent guardians of memory. Amid the sea of grieving faces at Diogo Jota's funeral stood a group whose quiet presence spoke volumes, Liverpool's medical staff. Often working behind the scenes, they are the silent custodians of a footballer's physical well-being, sharing intimate, often unseen chapters of an athlete's journey. These men and women had supported Jota through the grueling demands of professional football, from the dull aches of relentless training to the sharper pains of injury and recovery. Their bond with him had been built not on the pitch, but in sterile medical rooms where vulnerability is laid bare. On this day, they wore simple red carnations pinned to their lapels, a modest yet profoundly meaningful symbol. Unlike the sweeping tributes around them, their gesture was quiet, personal, and deeply felt. For them, Jota was more than a world-class forward, he was a young man who trusted them with his body, his career, and, at times, his fears. They had been his confidants through the long hours of rehabilitation, the delicate moments of doubt, and the small triumphs of recovery milestones. Their grief, though silent, was palpable. They had witnessed him at his strongest and at his most fragile, and their hearts now carried the weight of losing someone they had cared for so personally. For the medical team, the farewell was not simply professional, it was heartbreakingly human. Diogo Jota's football journey, from Gondomar to glory. Diogo Jota's life story was a football odyssey that began on the modest streets of Gondomar, a quiet town nestled near Porto, Portugal. As a boy, Jota would spend hours weaving between parked cars, dribbling makeshift balls, and crafting goalposts from stones and chalk lines. It was in these streets, far from stadium lights and roaring crowds, that his love for the game was forged. His prodigious talent caught the attention of FC Porto's academy scouts, who quickly realized they had discovered a gem. Coaches recalled his insatiable appetite for improvement. While others rested, Jota would stay behind, tirelessly perfecting his footwork and honing his finishing. His competitive spirit was fierce, yet he remained strikingly respectful, a boy who chased greatness but never abandoned humility. His professional journey took him from Pacos to Ferreira, where he earned his early reputation, to Atletico Madrid, where he briefly stepped onto the grander European stage. But it was at Wolverhampton Wanderers that Jota truly came alive. At Wolves, his attacking prowess and fearless style electrified fans. He quickly became one of the Premier League's most thrilling young forwards, known for his quick feet, razor-sharp instincts, and a relentless drive that defenders struggled to contain. Liverpool's acquisition of Jota marked a pivotal chapter, not just in his career but in his life. The funeral procession, a journey through memory. As the funeral procession began its slow, deliberate journey through Liverpool, it was not simply a route, it was a path lined with memories. The cortege moved past places that had come to define Jota's time in the city, the training grounds, the local cafes he frequented, and most poignantly, the towering stands of Anfield itself. Thousands gathered along the streets, their faces a tapestry of grief, reverence, and gratitude. The crowd was silent, save for the occasional quiet sobs or the soft whisper of "Thank you, Diogo." Some reached out, fingertips grazing the side of the hearse in a final, fleeting connection. Others clutched flowers, jerseys, or scarves, gently placing them on the road as the procession passed. The fences surrounding Anfield were adorned with a cascade of tributes, banners emblazoned with messages of love, walls covered with photographs, and countless handwritten notes, many from children who had idolized Jota. Little ones pressed their hands against the cold metal gates, their wide eyes etched with the weight of farewell, their parents standing behind them, gently wrapping arms around tiny shoulders. For the city of Liverpool, the funeral procession became more than a ritual. It was a pilgrimage, a collective journey of remembrance for a man who had given them joy, hope, and moments of unfiltered passion. Tributes across borders, a global farewell. News of Jota's passing resonated far beyond Liverpool's borders. In Portugal, spontaneous tributes sprang up in towns and cities. At FC Porto's training ground, a stunning mural was painted in his honor, capturing him mid-stride, forever in motion. Fishermen along the Portuguese coast tied red ribbons to their boats, creating a gentle, swaying tribute to one of their OWN. Wolverhampton, fans gathered outside Molineux Stadium, laying wreaths, scarves, and heartfelt notes. Before their next match, players donned black armbands, and the stadium fell into a profound, respectful silence as they observed a minute to honor Jota's memory. Social media platforms lit up with tributes from teammates, rivals, journalists, and fans across the globe. The hashtag Obrigado Diogo, thank you, Diogo, trended worldwide, an outpouring of love and appreciation that transcended language and nationality. Lisbon, Porto, Gondomar, and Liverpool became connected through candlelight vigils, chants, and quiet gatherings. His life had touched thousands, perhaps millions, in ways that numbers and headlines could never fully capture. Diogo Jota's farewell was not just Liverpool's or Portugal's, it became a global moment of collective mourning and gratitude for a life that, though far too brief, had left an indelible mark on the world.